Dear participants, welcome to LATRAPS Investor Webinar. My name is Ieva Unda. I'm from NASDAQ and I'll be moderating today's event. We will start with company's presentation and continue with a live Q&A session. You're welcome to submit your questions in writing through the Q&A window below the presentation. For your convenience, we are recording the call. Replay will be available shortly. Let me now introduce you to the management of LATRAPS. Robert Stritnieks, Chairman of the Management Board, and Gundars Ruža, CFO at LATRAPS. Gentlemen, please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm truly happy and excited to represent Agricultural Service Cooperative LATRAPS to you. The LATRAPS is, I would believe, that it's a complete gem in Latvia's national economy, although it's a company which is not so well known as the companies of this scale other companies operating in Latvia. And there is some reasons for this. LATRAPS as a cooperative has been so far deeply involved in servicing its members and focusing on particularly one sector of national economy, agriculture, where I believe we truly achieved some excellence in doing what we can. So let me start with a short introduction of the history of LATRAPS and the way how we came to this point that we are sitting here next to this screen and speaking to you. So in very brief, so it's a development since 2000. So next year will be the 25th year anniversary of creation of LATRAPS. And everything started with almost from the blank sheet of paper, from nothing, from just 12 farmers who decided that it's time to join their forces to being represented in the market together. And it's of course cooperation as a principle of collaboration. It's very popular in the world. It has more than 200 years of history in different branches of industry in the world. But in agriculture, it has really deep roots, and also here in Latvia. Unfortunately, the 50 years under Soviet occupation and Soviet regime, it put some marks on the sounding of world cooperation. It took some time to get back to this principle of collaboration between farmers, and there were some triggers also what made farmers desperate that it's not possible to work just alone. And in agriculture, it's because your business size will always be limited by some objective obstacles. It's the size of your land plot, what you can do agriculture on, and it's not so easy to grow as in other branches of business where your market size is not actually limited by anything, just by yourself. But in agriculture. You will always be fixed to your area. You will always be fixed to your market footing, and for that reason, you always will be in averagely smaller than other players in industry what you will be speaking to. And it happened in late 90s that farmers, especially in the most fertile regions of Latvia, which at that time already gained some sustainability of their farms, also maybe some created some self-confidence in what they do. They felt that the trading regulations or market principles where they have to represent their farms, it's not always so fair for the small farmer. And the trigger was just an example how LATRAPS was actually born, was the principle how the local food processing industry started to buy the raw materials needed for their production. So they decided to organize on-site auctions with descending price, making farmers to compete with each other. Who will sell its grain to the processing industry for cheaper price. And after having a couple of years of this experience, farmers said, no, it's enough. It will not be, we will not be managed by splitting and ruling. Either we are selling our volumes, we are negotiating between ourselves, and either we will sell or not to sell to the processing industry, but do it together. So this was actually the trigger what made LATRAPS to be born. And after a long investigation of different cooperatives across the Europe, especially from France, so the LATRAPS was created in early 2000. Since that, of course, it was a complete growth until the year of 2024. Just a couple of benchmarks, which maybe indicates the major points where LATRAPS came into other sectors and developed other businesses. What we do today. The first is a very quick one. The 2001, it became clear that serving the primary needs of farmers, so it's a supply of raw materials and also taking care of the harvest done by the farmers. It's impossible without major infrastructure investments. So our first major investment in infrastructure was the inland grain terminal center in LA, which is still a center of LATRAPS today, and our headquarters also are located there. And just to mention that also our experience in financing in outside LATRAPS also started at the same time in 2001. Because long before the wording of crowd financing was invented and became so popular, these first major investments were made on a basis of crowd financing. So we invited farmers to buy out the usage rights of commonly owned infrastructure investments, and that made the financial background of LATRAPS to develop. The later point I would like to point on is the moment when we found out that it's not enough with just taking the primary production of agriculture and selling it in export markets or domestic market. Stability of the sector heavily depends on local processing capacities here in Latvia. That would stabilize the price and demand for agricultural products, and LATRAPS became a part of development of the further processing of the agricultural products in those directions where it was not so developed at this time. So we started the biodiesel and oilseed raps processing plant, and we are still involved in producing also the rapeseed oil. The next thing what to mention is when we found out that the needs of the farmer are not just the primary, what we could imagine easily, just the supply of raw materials and taking care of the products, but there are plenty of more needs of farmers to be accommodated in order to make successful farming. And so we involved in the first time in financial services and we became one of the pioneers in crop protection insurance products, mitigating the climate risks, taking care of climate risks, which are so common in agriculture. And we do it together with our German partner, one of the leaders in crop insurance, Verenigte Hagel, still today. Inception of Latmalt, another processing plant, came on 2014. Latmalt is still one of the largest malt production plants in Latvia, and brings additional value to the production what is made from our farmers. And 2020, so for today's topic, maybe a very important step. So we firstly issued bonds. There was private bonds for our LATRAPS members, and by that we started our bond experience, which is we had already 4 stages of bond issuing bonds and repayment of the bonds. So the first bonds we repaid fully in 2022. And still it's an ongoing process. And coming to the need, what is most why we are here today. So 2024, very important date. We concluded an agreement with one of the leaders in food industry in Europe, with Pfeiffer and Langen, that we are going to commonly establish a pea protein production plant, a large scale investment and top of the age technology investment here in Latvia for the further processing of yellow peas and making food standard protein out of it. So that's why we are here today. Currently, we are covering all Latvia by development of infrastructure. So every point on a map that you see, starting from the west part of the Latvia and ending to the east side of the Latvia, it's every point shows additional center where our services are concentrated. So it's pre-processing of agricultural production, it's storage facilities, it's logistical hubs, and everything what is needed to be closer to the farmer when he has to serve its needs. But coming for today and trying to make some maybe logics and business concepts behind what we are today, I have to start, of course, with our mission and vision statement of 2024. So for today, LATRAPS is leading agribusiness cooperative in the Baltic region. We consider ourselves being a driving force of modern agriculture, which is wholly owned by Latvian farmers. And our mission is to ensure the stable and continuous growth for our partners with an efficient, reliable supply chain, from seed to harvest and from field to the kitchens of the world. And also, of course, by creating a sustainable, knowledge-based and innovative agriculture environment. So the last sentence is of exceptional importance for us because we are encoding the first three letters from our country's name in our company's brand, so LATRAPS. So we have to take responsibility also to give our share to make Latvia a better place to live and farm. Up to today, our core values, which are still very alive and developed within the company of LATRAPS, whatever we do, we try to do it on the basis of collaboration. We put the clear targets of excellence in everything what we do. So no things to be done on 45 or 55%. We are always will be reliable. So it means that our word will always be strictly followed by, and even sometimes when it's not written. And we carry plenty of portion of responsibility towards everything what we do, towards our neighbors, towards the society where we live in, towards our personnel, which is actually the key factor to our success, to our customers, to our members, to everything what we do. The business logics. So everything starts with the farmers and our founding members. As maybe you remember, there were just 12 at the time when we started. For today, we have grown up to more than 1,200. So it's a huge amount of the farmers which are involved in the business for today. And everything also started with a primary value chain. So we took care of raw materials, so supply and distribution of raw materials, all kind of, including fertilizers, including plant protection, including seed materials, what you would certified seed materials, what you would need for a good crop. And transferred it to the farmer. And second, the largest part of our value was the sale of the grain. So we compiled all the grain which is collected and harvested by our members and organized sales on a different scale. We came out to the external markets, and of course we had a much better bargaining force as every farmer would have it individually. As I said, very quickly it came to the infrastructure needed for ensuring this primary supply chain. So the pre-processing plants came into play For today, we have 8 with a total storage capacity well over 200,000 tons. And another, the transport and logistics as a commonly owned service came into play. There is a lot of heavy cargo to be moved across the country from the field to the export point of sales, which is most usually is a ship. And so we developed our own internal freight services, which later were supplemented also by our investment in port infrastructure. So we had to develop it in order to sustain the primary value chain. But with the time, of course, dealing with principle everything for the farmer, not only raw materials but also fuel, both excised and non-excised for agricultural works, machinery, sales of machinery. So we represent brands which are popular and well known in agricultural business. Service, taking care of this machinery and agricultural equipment which is on a farmer's yard. And on an outgoing side, also the production, so the deeper value adding in production which is harvested from a field, as I mentioned before. It did not take long that we found out that it's not enough. So even if you have plenty of availability of raw materials, you have stability in sales, you have plenty of infrastructure support to the system, there are some needs of the farmer which are still uncovered, and one of the things is a natural cycle of agricultural production. You would have your expenses starting from early autumn and picking up in springtime. But you will have only income would come only once per year, and it's late summer. So every farmer has the same cash flow problems. So it had to find the finance how to finance the production until it gets the payment for the harvest. So LATRAPS decided that it can become a part of the solution for this problem, and we started to level out the cash flow for our members, for our customers, and gradually it increased in being a very significant post-payment services for the farmers. So the farmer has an opportunity to buy everything what he needs on a payment which will come later when he will have the harvesting completed. But it was a principal thing, because with this development of this service, not only farmer but also LATRAPS became one of deeply involved in the financial stability of every farmer. So it moved us to development of two another areas of business which helped us to deal with the risks which are embedded in the concept of agriculture. So the first is climate risk, and so that was a reason why we developed in cooperation with Verenigde Hagel in becoming leaders in crop insurance. For today, we have up to 45% of the total crop insurance market in Latvia. And another very important business is hedging, because if you deal with commodities, you always will have some market volatilities, and this is something the farmer and even LATRAPS cannot influence. We can just prepare ourselves and to hedge these risks. So we developed the hedging procedures available to every farmer, and enabling him to start to fixate the price for the harvest long before harvest takes place and long after harvest takes place. So we are widely using hedging services. So this is what we are for today. This is our business model with some philosophy behind. So looking from the financial point of view, of course, our main revenues come from the sales of the agricultural production. So it's grain, it's pulps, beans and peas, and it's oilseed raps, and another large portion is crop care products, as I mentioned before. So it's a fertilizers where we have good connections with the major producers in the world, like BASF, like Yara, like many other brands that we are representing. And other businesses are from revenue point of view, are not so large, but very important for our member to be fully serviced and let him to focus on agriculture. The one thing what I have to fix your attention to is, of course, everyone could ask, looking on our revenue numbers. So what happened in these years, 2021, 22, 23, and why we have such a from how it looks, significant decrease of revenues until 2024. So here is an answer. It's just one maybe of indicators. One of the indexes. It's a wheat price for this period of time, and you see this is clearly the impact of geopolitics. It's volatile times started with February 2022 when Russia started aggression in Ukraine. So everything turned upside down in the market, and not only in commodity price, sales price like here, but also in raw material pricing. You had the same indexes with picking up the pricing for natural gas and also fertilizers, which are heavily based on it. So our financial year is from July to June. So the impact of volatile 2022 impacts our financial accounts for 2021. And 2023, so it's split between those 2 years. But 2024, we see is that the markets have come down back to, let's say, normal, so it's stabilized, and now we expect a continuous growth in the future on much more stable basis. What I can say more is, of course, this rapid increase, and after that the decrease of pricing for more than a year. It really made a challenge for most of the industry players like us, because it's easy to work with the growing prices, but in order to survive with such a down-going trend, you have to be very strong in mitigating your risks and using all kinds of financial security services like hedging, and to be very smart in order not to make it impact your financial statements. We did a great job, I believe it. And if you see, our decrease in revenues is almost not visible in our profit amounts in this period of time. So whenever the prices went up or down, we were very stable and a profitable company. Just a couple of words to LATRAPS internally. So as every business company, our highest decision-making body is our owners. We call it as a cooperative our members. They represent the farms from all over the country. From most of them come from Zemgale, and the east part of Latvia, also from west part of Latvia and north part of Latvia. Little bit less represented in our members meeting, general meeting. But the main and major difference between us and commercial company, of course, is the principle of decision making. In commercial companies, everything is subordinated to amount of capital which is being invested by every single shareholder, and actually your share is what decides what makes your decision-making power. In our case, every member has a single one vote, so it ensures that all the decision-making is made on democratic and actually consensus basis, and lots of discussions, open discussions between taking any strategic decision of the company. Going down, supervisory board, as it is set by our statutes, supervisory board consists of 9 members. All of them, they are farmers, and it was not intentionally done, but you see the split very well covering all the regions of Latvia. So 3 come from Zemgale, 3 come from Kurzeme, and 3 come from east part of Latvia, from Latgale. By that way, LATRAPS ensures the very close connection between the management team and the members' representatives, the supervisory board, on a daily basis. And we have very intense and communication, and very intense and in detail communication with our supervisory board in all matters of the cooperative and all decisions which are under preparation for future. Coming down to management board, no farmers, just professionals, and professionals, I would say, of the highest grade. You would see 3 members covering the main strategic functions of LATRAPS, including myself, dealing with overall management of LATRAPS of almost 3 years now. CFO Gundars, which will take over the presentation from me just shortly, with huge experience in finance and management of commercial companies. And Ilga Bairskalns, our CDO, or Chief Development Officer, Head of Development, with a huge experience and international experience in planning, in process quality management, and innovation processes all across the world. And 2 other members, key members of our management team, covering 2 main business areas. 2 most important business areas. One is head of agriculture, dealing with consultation services and raw materials supplied to the farmers, and the second is head of grain sale, responsible for the largest business area of LATRAPS. As a group, we are not very difficult one to understand. So we have one mother company, LATRAPS, which is in this case, which is a bond issuer, and so the LATRAPS as a mother company will be the one which is responsible for the performance as it regards the bonds issued. But we have a couple of daughter companies. The major ones, it's a malting company, Latmalt, what I mentioned already before. So we have Asens Investment, which is taking care of our 50% plus 1 vote in a port terminal, Alfa Osta, what I also mentioned before. And we have 51.3% representation in Asens Ingredients. So this is this project company of high quality pea protein production plant, which will be also the finance target for the bonds issued these weeks. So thank you so much for your attention. I give over to Gundars, please.
Yeah. Dear listeners, on the screen you see the financial summary of LATRAPS. It's not a consolidated standalone data. We don't complete consolidation since we don't have direct control over the 2 largest investments in the port and the pea protein entity, and that's by intention, since we have partners with whom we are sharing responsibilities. In a case of financial summary, you see that, as Roberts mentioned, only like serious deviations visible through the revenue line. At the same time, EBITDA is extremely flattened, and in general, our target is working in the commodity market, not dealing with revenues which are fluctuating, but dealing with the commissions and you can say extra add-ons on the services what we are providing to the farmers. So our target for farmers is to provide access to the you can say global markets and global prices available on markets, we are in a position to fix on a minute basis exactly what you can see on the screens. At the same time, it doesn't affect LATRAPS as a cooperative, since our target is to benchmark exactly what is the price of the cost and to take some extra profit out of the services what we provide to the farmers. So at the end, we see that from the net profit side, until basically today, also even looking on the period which is not only ended 30th of June, but for the last 4 months, we are exactly on the same track as it's visible on the screen. So it's ending up also in the extremely stable equity level. As of 30th of June 2024, we have 32 million equity, which is really bringing extremely good equity ratio and a stable partnership with commercial banks. Our commercial banks are Luminor and SAB. They both are providing syndicated credit facilities, what we use also for financing our customers, farmers, and also financing the stock, which consists from the raw materials and grain purchases. And if we dig into the financial highlights, then the most visible activity, what we see on the upper side left, it's a revenue and average wheat selling price variations. So you can see on average how the wheat price per ton have increased from 2000 up to 2022. So increase was more than 50%, and then it's fall down. And if you look on the right side, then you see that profit from that has not been affected. So it just one more proof that our financial performance are extremely stable, and it's not really dependent on the global market activities. At the same time, we also benchmark in our term sheet 2 covenants. One is the equity ratio, what you see on the left down side. We placed our commitments that our equity ratio will not be below 20%, and we are pretty high already now. On the left side, you see that it's interest coverage ratio, where we benchmark it should be EBITDA versus interest paid 2 to 1. So we are even currently on quite comfortable level, also with commercial banks. And in this case, we are even now improving situation, since a major issue was 3 months Euribor increase for the last 18 months. But now it's again dropping, so we are pretty stable on that as well. And one tiny but important thing is subsidies, what you see in the EBITDA interest coverage ratio. And all our inland grain centers we develop in cooperation with Latvian ministries. It's called Latvian Farmer Administration, and they are also providing support money. So we're recognizing based on our center depreciation methods also the income, or you can say grants, what we are getting from them. So that's also is giving a confidence that investments what we do it in LATRAPS are supported and well financed in a proper way. So key highlights. Revenue to 245 million. It's still a lot, but you see the variations can happen due to the market fluctuations. At the same time, our market share is 20%. We have more than 1,200 members, and it's steadily continuing to grow. And EBITDA ratio, EBITDA is around 7% and 7 million. And it's pretty stable, so it can be between 6 to 7%. assets, 120 million, and our export market is about 30 countries. A little bit story of pea protein production plant. Reason behind we started this process was clearly that just relying on our export market, we can predict that we would not bring too much extra value for our members. And clearly you can expand in the market shares, but since we are working on commissions, in general, it doesn't bring extra added value. So it was clear that we have to study the solutions, how we can add on more value for our products, what we are collecting from the farmers. So 4 years ago, we started the Asens project, and now we are almost, you can say, 1 month to go to start the construction process for the building the pea protein plant. The total investment is projected around 132 million, and main plan is to produce around close to 70,000 tons of pea, and the construction will continue for 2 years, and the opening of the plant would be around spring 2027. What we are really proud is that we attracted strategic equity partner, Pfeiffer and Langen, and it's top sugar products producer in the Europe, but not only. In Baltics, it's also they are also owning the products like potato chips producers Estrella, and they are really innovative in different products what has been well known in Europe. So as of today, they have already invested 8 million, but from the total funding structure, you see that equity, what investors has to invest is more than 40 million. LATRAPS will invest in total 15 million. So we have already invested 5 million. We have attracted also from our members money. So in general, from 8 million, what we will collect from the bond issuance, 6 million will be as a subordinated loan, and 2 million will be invested in equity. And our partner will invest around 25 million. We have also attracted one major European commodity and food trader, and they will invest a minor shares, expecting around 2%, but that will give also a confidence that ultimate final product will be secured on supply of really clear structure how we can distribute the produced product. 2 parts which is very important is state and European Union support. It's around 70 million. From that, 50% will be a grant, convertible to grant, and the 40 million will come from the commercial banks. So bond term sheet. It's pretty simple, and I will highlight the top 5 things which can be very important for every investor. Total volume what we are trying to attract is 8 million. It's 4 years maturity. It will be a bullet repayment with a coupon rate 7.5%. Interest will be paid on a quarterly basis, and the nominal value is 1,000 euros. It's a public offering all over the Baltics, and all the money collected will be used for financing development of SIA Asens ingredient. All the details you can find out in LATRAPS investor homepage. There is also info memo and detailed presentation. So we are welcoming that you are studying that. And bond subscription period started 2 days ago. It will continue until the 9th of December. And on the 12th December, we will issue the bonds. Our target is to be listed in Nasdaq Baltic First North during the 6 months period. So it's, at least from our side, it's pretty clear that we will do the best to do it as fast as possible. So key investment considerations. LATRAPS is a market leader in Latvia. It's the largest cooperative in the Baltics with 1,200 members, with consistent financial performance and bringing a robust, clear corporate governance, securing that even one member decide to do something different with a cooperative, nothing can happen. And on the top, we want to be and we will be industry innovator, and we will continue to bring extra value not only for our owners but also for the Latvian society. You can also find out more details on risk factors. They are described in information memorandum on LATRAPS screen, but from our side, of course, you have to study all the risks, but we feel confident that LATRAPS are secured investment for our investors. We would like to thank you for your time. We are welcoming you to join LATRAPS, earning together with the farmers, and LATRAPS is always a gateway to the world.
Thank you for the presentation. We are now opening the floor to the questions and answers session. A reminder to the participants, please submit your questions in writing in the Q&A box that you see below the presentation. The first question that we have received: how competitive is Latvia's agricultural industry on a global scale?
Yes, thank you for this question. I would call the Latvia's agricultural industry to be very competitive at a global scale. The things that are making up our competitiveness, of course, is very good soil conditions and very good soils for making the high quality agricultural products. Of course, it's a climate which is challenging last 2 years, not to mention it. Because this is the moment when our crop insurance works in full force and covering the climate-related risks in case of large-size hail or strong winds or flooding or bad wintering. So everything is being taken care of with our crop insurance. But generally, the climate is very good for making agricultural crops of high volumes. We have very professional people and traditions of agriculture coming into generations, with many people continuing what their fathers did on the same land. So good traditions which are strengthened by a good educational system. And also strengthened by organizations like LATRAPS, which ensures the exchange of the knowledge and exchange of experience between the farmers on making the right way how to deal with one or another problem. The things which are challenging, or I have to be honest, which are challenging in our case, of course, it's that the market is totally global for the food and the related products, including commodities what we are dealing with. And also in our case, in LATRAPS case, our target major markets are located in continent of Africa or Middle East. And these markets are quite it's not so relevant. All the geopolitical tensions or climate policies and so on, what is so important for us. So they just want to feed their people and to make it for the most attractive price. And being a part of the European Union, of course, we are following the highest standards of everything, of food security, of personnel, social responsibility, corporate governance, and so on, which and sometimes is not followed by other competitors in the global market, especially those coming from, for example, from east part of us, from Russia and this part of the world. So when our potential buyer sees different offers in the global market coming from us with the highest quality insurances and the wheat, which he would consider being the same, but for less, because the quality requirements in the production process are less. So it is a risk that it can decide to go for the cheapest one. But this is a part of where we are, what we are, and what we consider to be a good work. So I think generally we are very competitive.
Thank you. The second question that we have received, what share of the raw material market do you plan to achieve in Latvia and in Baltics?
I'll take care also about this answer. So one thing what we have to keep in mind is that with this war started in 2022, LATRAPS, as well as any other market player in this branch of industry, we had to completely reshape the distribution, the supply and distribution chains from those dominated by Russia and Belarus supplies on fertilizers side, with alternatives coming from the west part, from the Europe, from Scandinavia, from Central Europe, Scandinavia. And what you see in our financial accounts, that we very successfully managed to completely change the supply chains and not to lose significantly also our market footing in these businesses. What we see in the future, being a very highly competitive market for us, but we see that we will sustain at 20+% of the market share also in the future.
Thank you. Our second question is about the bond security. Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, our bonds are unsecured, and there is pretty clear message why we are providing unsecured bonds. First of all, we know that our customers or customer base is the farmers, and clearly farmers are operating with a land which you cannot move it, and clearly the products what they are basically selling to us, they are grains, and for farmers there are not too much options where they can move it. Our equity levels are about 30 million. Our customer base is extremely stable. So in our case, a cooperative through the robust corporate governance model is pretty secured. And from that point of view, we believe that unsecured bonds would not make any extra, let's call it a deficit for decision to select such kind of bond. So unsecured bonds sounds like unsecured, but we strongly believe that it doesn't bring you extra negative effects through the 25 years of experience of cooperative, which have been really a stable business model.
How did you manage to attract a strategic partner, which is one of the leading players in the food industry in Europe?
Yes, thank you for this question. Actually, it was not a surprise and it was not a miracle. As I said in the very beginning, I really considered LATRAPS to be very healthy and one of really unfound, undiscovered gems. And especially when we come with an idea which has such a drive in food industry's standards of tomorrow. So it's plant-based protein, which is fully capable of displace some of the meat-based proteins, which are widely used. and you have increased demand forecasts, and you have very competitive pricing for pea protein in the future. So the brilliant carrier of brilliant idea, it was not so difficult to find also a brilliant partner which will come together and implement this project together with us. So I'm very happy to be fully on the same page and fully with the same hopes and dreams and plans for the future together with Stefan and Langen. Very thankful to them.
And of course, we use professional consultants who assist us selecting shortlists and starting really focused targeting how to attract our strategic partners.
Mm-hmm. How dependent LATRAPS is on its members? What would happen in case largest members would decide to leave the cooperative?
Okay, yes, I'll take care of this answer. This is a very good question. And it clearly indicates that there are some principles which were not covered, operational principles which were not covered in my previous presentation. This question most probably derives from the concept of traditional cooperative, when you have the members which are bound to the cooperative by obligations to work through the cooperative, and any deals with not your own cooperative would be limited. In our case, in LATRAPS case, it has been a principle of operational principle since 2000. The member which enters the cooperative is not obliged to work only with LATRAPS. So whenever it's a member or not, we have to come to an agreement on every single operational agreement. So it's on every single sales of raw material, or every single purchase of harvested volumes, any kind of crop, whatever it is. We have to do it on a separate negotiations and separate will from the both parties to enter this agreement. So this what sometimes was considered an insecurity for the LATRAPS, that our members are fully free to work also with the other agents in the market, other representatives of our competitors. Actually, I believe it's really a stabilizing and strengthening factor for the LATRAPS, because the LATRAPS as a team is fully fit, and it's very used to be competitive, not on a member attraction process, but on every single management operation process, what we do with our members and also with our non-members on a daily basis. So we know that we have to be competitive whenever it's member or not member, or maybe prospective member. We have to be top of the choice in everything what we do. So I would say that the risk, what will happen to LATRAPS when the members will decide to exit the membership, it's bad, but it's not, of course, the killing. But of course, to lose a customer base, it's a killing, of course, as it for every market participant in any branch of business.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Do you have competitors? How do you compare with them?
We do. Having 20% of in our major business areas, of course, leaves the space for other 80% to be filled up by someone. We have the market players dealing in the same business areas, both in cooperation as a cooperatives. We have one large cooperative, VAX, dealing mainly in northern part of Latvia. We have smaller local cooperatives, which we do not consider being competitors, but more as partners. And we are doing also with VAX and then the regional local cooperatives, we're doing lots of things together. So we are also combining our market forces to make the joint purchases or joint sales. So we do lots of things together. But there are some also commercial players dealing in the same sector. Of course, it's tricky question because I would be rather saying only good things about my competitors or maybe nothing, but let me stick to that we are not looking bad. We are not looking bad. No.
How is the income structure for LATRAPS given you will be minority in the project? Meaning, would you get quarterly annual dividends?
Yeah, we are together with our two other LATRAPS partners, which are also cooperatives. We have majority in Athens. In this case, our business model is also described in our shareholder agreement, and it's a target that profit will be distributed on a yearly basis when basically a setup agreed with the commercial banks will allow to start to pay out dividends. But it's not a long-term target, it's middle-term target since the business case itself is very profitable. So we see that it will be a successful project.
Thank you. Is the production of Athens targeted to export markets or for domestic consumption?
Between 90 and 95% will be export markets. That's the reason also why we have attracted a commodity trader into our shareholder structure. But clearly there will be also some part of sales in the local market, but we have to wait what kind of development happened during the next 2-3 years to see the Baltic food producers and their targets in the local market.
Thank you. Despite LATRAPS cash flows being seasonal, similar to the farmers, you have structured the bond with quarterly coupon payments. Why is that?
It's simple answer. In our case, we didn't try to make some exceptions to the classical bond terms, so it's also part of our, you can say, our arranger and legal consultant to create a product which is well known and easy understandable for our investors. So we stick with a regular way how the bond interest is paid out.
You say that LATRAPS doesn't take market price risk due to commissions, which are independent of market price. But how are you protected for volume losses in case members decide to sell through other channels at better prices?
We are even promoting members to look for market prices. So we are not afraid in a case that customers are looking what's going on in market. So market is really competitive. But one thing what is really like securing also cooperative is that the farmers who are borrowing, you can say, raw materials with a post payment during August, September, the most easiest way to settle the debt is delivering the grain. So that's a way how basically cooperative is working, where around 80 to 90% of post payments have been settled through the grain deliveries. Yes, sometimes we see that it's variating, but our 20% market share are pretty stable for really long term.
Just to maybe to add to this, yes, the one thing, of course, what we do is to limit the occasions where the members have an objective reason to sell through other channels at better prices. We are monitoring prices on daily basis. We are ensuring that our target is to be among the top 3 top 3 price givers for harvest volumes in Latvia, and we are up to now we are taking stably taking this place.
Thank you. Is commodity hedging done in-house or outsourced?
Process is done in-house, but the product and placement is done through the international banks. We use 3 international banks. It's well known in Baltic Saxo Bank, it's American Stonex and R.G. O'Brien. So that's the oldest one in the UK. So we used all 3 banks also to to right balance through the risks what we are taking.
Who will pay interest for Ascen's planned internet to bank and strategic partners?
Ascen's is investment case, but without any shareholder guarantees. That's the reason why also Ascen's is borrowing more than a current investment level. It's around 10% more than 132 million investment. So Ascen's is stable in their cash flow and they can settle their liabilities. LATRAPS will take the care of money what we are borrowing from investors, and we will settle ourselves interest from our books.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions to go. What is LATRAPS' plan to attract and increase members for Kurzeme and Vidzeme, where LATRAPS is least represented?
Okay, thank you. Very good question. But just to make one small adjustment, Kurzeme is not one of the regions where we are least represented. It's if we try to make this conclusion from the structure of our members, from which region they are coming, so we have to keep into mind that the average farm area in Kurzeme is much larger than the one, for example, in east part of Latvia in Latgale. There are plenty interesting reasons for this. In western part of Latvia, in heritage traditions, usually did not require to split the farm between the heirs. But at the eastern part of Latvia, it was a common practice that the farms are split between all the family members which are inheriting the farm. So the average farm is smaller, and a larger number of members not always represents a larger area. We are very well represented in Kurzeme. In Vidzeme, it's another story, of course. In Vidzeme, just to remind that there is very strong cooperative VAX working in region in Vidzeme region. It was born in Vidzeme region approximately at the same time when LATRAPS was born in Zemgale. And we do not have a strategy to compete for membership with VAX. So we are present in a region, but it's mainly covered by a very similar market player, but a similar cooperative VAX. Thank you.
Thank you. Please describe terms and conditions of bank loan, partner loan, and EU and state debt.
Ascen's loan structure is currently a commercial secret, but we can clearly say that all the terms are built on the commercial banking terms, which are well known for you. There is no any big surprises, and a little bit more details you can also find out in the information document available on the LATRAPS investor homepage.
Thank you. As we're running out of time, we will be now closing the call. Participants, thank you for joining us today. But before I'm ending the session, I'm giving back to LATRAPS for the final closing words.
I just wanted to say many thanks for your time in analyzing and looking for this opportunity to be together with LATRAPS in creation of what we consider is a complete opportunity of making with our own hands a food tech of 21st century together. So we have been an example of collaboration, a complete example of collaboration. Welcome to the team. Thank you.
Thank you.